So this is the first message that we are going to discuss in ISO. Means initial address message. This is the first message which is sent on the network for setting the call, for setting up the call. Okay. So the process is you pick up the telephone and you dial the number, and at the end of dialing, the DSS1 protocol sends the digit to the local exchange, and at the local exchange the initial address message is found, and this message is sent to the nearby exchange, which is obviously in the direction of the called party number. Okay, so let's say this is the exchange 1, this is the exchange 2, this is the A party, this is the B party. So A party picks up the telephone and dials the number. When the dialing is finished, the DSS1 protocol is used to send the digits to the local exchange. Okay, exchange of A. And from A's exchange, after receiving the dial digit, it sends this message IAM to the B exchange. Okay. Now, based on the dialed number, after analyzing the dialed number, it finds out the optimum route for the next exchange, so that the B party can be reached. Okay. And after receiving IAM, the B party will start ringing. There will be another DSS1 signaling. Okay. The topic for today's discussion is IAM. Okay. Now, this IAM message is pretty large message in ISO. It has a lot of parameters and possibly one of the largest message in the entire ISO protocol. It includes more than 50 optional parameters, several mandatory fixed parameters. So all those things we are going to discuss today. But for the time being, you take into account that the only mandatory parameter here is the called party number, because based on the called party number it does the routing. But there are several parameters related to the nature of connection, related to the call indicators, defining the status of the call, and the nature of circuits which are involved in between routes. There are several parameters in the IAM that indicate all those things. Okay, so let us take some of the parameters of IAM. Okay, so the first parameter is the message type. Now this message type is just a digit or code to enunciate that this is a IAM message. Okay. Likewise, there are ACM message, SAM message, and ANM. So for all those messages, there are different message types. So it's just one of the message identifier, you can say. Sorry, not message identifier, message type identifier. It identifies the message type. Then there is NOC parameters, the nature of connection indicators. Then there are forward call indicators, SPI. Then calling party category. Then transmission medium requirement. Then user service info. Then called party number. And then there are more than 50 optional parameters. Okay. So message type we saw. Message type identifies the message type corresponding to which ISUP message is being sent. Then the knock indicators, they define several parameters related to what kind of connections has been encountered so far in the network. Okay. For example, if the IM message could go via several medium. Okay, it could go via satellite. Okay, if there is no direct connection between two exchanges, then the connection may go via satellite connection. Okay, so that indication has to be there in somewhere. So all those indications are there in the nature of connection indication. Okay, identifying what kind of connection has been dealt with so far, like satellite, or if there is an echo suppression involved in between. Or echo. Then FCI, it indicates call related parameters like whether it's an international call or national call, or what kind of connection strategy is being used, if it is FTP or it is hop by hop using MTP3. If it is SCCP, then whether it is a connectionless protocol or connection oriented protocol. So all those things are indicated in the forward call indicator. Okay. Then like national or international, mainly this indication is there. Then the calling party category is there, whether it is a operator number or it is a pay phone number, or it's an internal number or from operator or normal number. So all those categories are there. Like if it is a pay phone or test number or operator number or normal number. Okay. Then the transmission media. Okay. So this transmission media and the user service info. These two parameters are carrying information related to bearer services. Okay. So as we all know, this ISUP protocol, it is mainly to bridge the gap between two ISDN endpoints. So ISDN supports audio, it supports video, it supports conferencing, it supports fax and data services. So there are varying requirements for the bearer. For just audio, there is single channel required. For video, there could be n number of channels required. So there are different requirements related to the bearer. So that information is there in these two parameters. But the thing is, this transmission media, this is supported by ITUT. Okay, and this is by NC. So when NC protocol is being used, then it is specified in the user service. When ITUT is used, then it is specified in the transmission media. Okay, so that's the only difference. Otherwise, they carry the same information. Then the CDPN number, this is the dialed number. Okay, whatever number that the user dialed, that is there. Then there are several optional parameters like calling party number, original calling party number. So there are several optional parameters. When we take the packet, actual packet, then you'll realize there are several optional parameters. But the mandatory ones are these ones. Okay. Let us take each parameter one by one. First, the nature of connection indicator. Okay. So nature of connection indicator, the knock indicator, it has basically two purposes. One is to specify the connection that has been met overall. Okay. Connection medium. Okay. So basically, your call could go via echo suppressor, it could go via satellite. So that information has to be captured over here. So it is basically providing the historical information. So one way is you can say the historical information about the call. Okay. Second kind of thing is it is also used to uh, alter the call handling. Okay. It can also act as a specification like a demand. Okay. So there are parameters like continuity test. So when continuity test is used, then in that case, this message is actually demanding how the call should be handled. Okay, continuity test is a separate is a procedure which is used to check the sanity of the trunks. Okay, as you all know, the ISA protocol is basically out of band protocol, out of band signaling. What that means is your signaling is via different route, and your actual uh, voice packets, they are carried via separate route. So if any ISDN endpoint wants to perform the test, like how is the voice quality going to be, then it initiates this continuity procedure in which a loopback is formed. Okay. So basically what happens in the continuity test, that one exchange initiates the continuity test with the other exchange, okay, using this I think caught message. Okay. And the second exchange using this, after receiving this message, it does the loop back. Okay. And then then the whole path has been established. Okay. And after this has been established, this exchange will start sending some tones, okay, on this line, and it will again receive those same tones from the loopback line, and then it will compare both the tones to find out if the quality is satisfactory. Okay, so this kind of test is called continuity test, and it is possible to have this test uh, out of band, like without any call going on, or it can be within the call itself. Okay, so when it is out of band, then this COT procedure is required. Okay, but when it is in band, when it is in call, so when the call is initiated, in the IAM message itself, the originating exchange, it can specify the continuity test parameter, and that is specified in the knock indicator itself. Okay, so we understood the two purpose of knock indicator. One is to provide the historical information about the call, what all media the call has gone through, and also to alter the way call is being handled. Like in this case, so if this COT indicator is continuity test indicator, it is on, then the exchange will perform the loopback, and only when the loopback has been found to be satisfactory quality, then only the call will go through. Okay. The historical indicators are mainly two. One is the satellite indicator. Okay. So let's suppose two exchanges, they are not connected directly via PCM links, optic fibers, but there is a separate media which is going via satellite link. Now satellite links are very slow, so this information has to be specified somewhere that the satellite link has been used in this call, so that the the next hop or that information local exchange can use to route the call in a better way. Okay, if the local exchange had the choice of routing call back to the satellite link, then it will avoid doing so because the call has already gone via satellite. So adding one more satellite hop is going to kill the quality. So it will avoid doing that. It will mostly use some local link to bypass the satellite link. So all those kind of logic can be handled when this information is there. So there is a satellite indicator. Then there is a echo suppression indicator. Okay. Now this echo suppression is basically to enhance the quality of audio. Echo suppression. So what is done is some DSP algorithm is run to suppress the echo, but this echo suppression could result into loss of data when the signals are not actually audio but fax or data signals, because this is a lossy kind of thing. Obviously, some Fourier transform is done and then some bands are removed from the voice signal, so it will result into loss of signal which is not required by the data or fax. So this indication indicates that there is a echo suppression used in the call. Okay, so that's the historical information which is provided by the knock indicator. Okay, now let us take the FCI indicators also. The forward call indicator. So just like knock indicators, forward call indicators also have two purposes. One is to provide the historical information about the call, what all has gone through the call, and also to alter or affect the configuration at the for further processing. Okay, so one of the indicator is national slash international indicator. Okay, so if the call is coming via international gateway, then it will have the international indicator on. So this parameter shows that the call is basically international call. Okay, it is coming from international gateway. Second is the end-to-end method indicator. Now end-to-end method indicator is basically this method is basically to determine whether SCCP is being used or pass along is being used. Pass along is just like MTP3, direct MTP3, in which each node is processing the entire packet hop by hop. Hop by hop, the processing is being done. So that is a pass along method. And then there is a SCCP based message, SCCP based method. So SCCP based method is uh, each and every node will not handle that message. It will be handled only at the end points, okay, at the origin and at the end. So out of these two methods, which method is being used, that is indicated over here. Okay. The third is the interworking indicator. Now, SS7 is not the only protocol used in the telecommunication networks. There are other non-SS7 elements also, non-SS7 networks also. So if there is some interworking with other networks, okay, like SIP network, let's say, okay, so next generation network is there, and it is interacting with the traditional SS7 network. then there is an interworking involved. And when this interworking is involved, using this indicator, it is indicated that the call has come from SIP. Let's say SIP call is being initiated. The original party is a SIP number or IP number. Then there will be interworking somewhere, and at the gateway, this interworking indicator will be placed in the IM message. Okay. So this is mainly for the non-SS7 interactions. Then there is ISDN user part indicator. Okay. Now this is basically, even in SS7 there are other protocols which can be used for setting up the call. Okay, ISUP is not the only one. Like TUP is there. Okay, so if there is any indication that it has come via TUP or non-ISUP based user part, then this indication shows that it has come from the non-ISDN also. Okay, like TUP, etc. So this is to indicate the non-ISUP handling, because call can come from TUP also. So that indication is embedded in this IM message. Then ISDN user part preference indicator. Okay, this is basically providing the preference for handling, because at the exchange there could be option to route the call via ISUP method or non-ISUP method like TUP. So if this preference indicator is there, then whether it is mandatory to whether it is required to route the call via ISUP, if that indicator is there, then only that interface is chosen. And if it is not possible to route that call, then the release call will be released. Okay, but if it is just that the ISUP is preferred, then in case ISUP is not available, then the call could be routed via other protocols also, like non-ISUP ones also. Then there is ISDN access indicator. Now this is basically, now ISUP is mainly used for bridging the gap between the ISDN endpoints, but it is used in normal telephones also, which are non-ISDN. So there is this indicator whether the endpoints are actually ISDN access or just the normal telephones. So if ISDN access is there, then variety of supplementary services can be invoked. But if it is just a plain old phone, then all those indicators, all those services will not be invoked. Okay, so this indicator shows, ISDN access indicator shows that the endpoints, they are actually the ISDN endpoints and not the other ones. And finally, there is a SCCP method indicator. Now, this method indicator becomes relevant only when the end-to-end method indicator, in which the SCCP or pass along is used. If it is SCCP being used, then we all know SCCP has two kinds of connection strategies. One is connectionless, another is connection oriented. So which method is being used currently, that is indicated in this method. Okay, whether it is connectionless or connection oriented. Okay. So that's all about all the parameters in the IM message. Next we'll take the ACM message.